Lies of P. A beautiful Souls-like game is a reimagining of the story of Pinocchio, a twisted, dark game set in a fallen city of Krat. To start with, the game seems to have an easy-to-follow storyline, and in a few ways, yes, it's true. The story starts simply about puppets living peacefully among humans, being the law servants till one day they frenzy, gaining a sort of consciousness. Even though they were bound by the Grand Covenant that was created by Geppetto, who was the creator of the puppets, and Vanini, who funded most of the project as a rich philanthropist. The story itself, along with its dark nature, has twists and turns along the way as you decide whether you should lie or be truthful. Whichever option you choose determines the fate of P and everyone and everything around him. It gives you multiple different endings depending on what you choose, and some choices are harder to make than others.
The Grand Covenant is a set of absolute commands imprinted on puppets when they are made. First law: all puppets must obey their creator's commands. Second law: a puppet may not harm humans. Third law: a puppet protects and serves humans and the city of Krat. Fourth law: a puppet cannot lie. I've told you about the laws engraved upon every puppet.
The last law, in retrospect, is the most important. Hopefully, you know the story of Pinocchio, which is what the game is basically about, where you are the only puppet that has the ability to lie. It never truly states why he can lie at any point in the game, apart from the fact that he was a special puppet created by Geppetto himself. Possibly due to this special creation, Geppetto may have made a few changes to the Grand Covenant for him, but take that with a grain of salt. Pinocchio was made in Carlo's image by Geppetto to basically mimic his lost son. Carlo was named as the first puppet based off the creator of the original novel, Carlo Collodi, who wrote The Adventures of Pinocchio back in 1883. That novel is what the game is based off of, with direct references to characters in the game that changed to fit a dark, twisted version of that story. The plot is what makes the game unique in its own way, with beautiful locations to visit along with some darker, more sinister locations. It gets confusing within the midpoint section of the game, but hopefully it will all become much more clearer throughout the video. Like I mentioned at the start, the puppets were friendly creatures made by one man Geppetto, who believed they could act as servants to humans in any way they see fit. Due to the Grand Covenant, his goals were accomplished, making many different types of puppets such as a butler, maid and chimney sweeps to look after the houses and keep them clean, along with puppet cops to keep the streets free of crime and guards to protect key points in the city. He even created attraction puppets to entertain guests, used solely for acts such as a clown puppet, as well as the parade master who was able to sing 16 songs, have a cheerful laugh, as well as 54 parade phrases and dances to entertain children. He also had the strength to carry 6 men on his shoulders, making the perfect attraction for a circus. Some puppets were made for utility, such as Fuego, who worked down the boiler room at Panini Works to keep the fires going. However, despite everything that they made, Geppetto and Vanini still had massive plans to expand their puppets even further, creating something big inside the Grand Expedition. The puppet of the future, they called it. A huge machine made from wood and metal. It's unclear exactly what its purpose was or why it was being made, but rest assured they were both unable to complete their project before the puppet frenzy. For the first half of the game, the task is to find what is exactly making these puppets frenzy and put an end to it all. Originally, you start with the Puppet King, thinking after he is destroyed that means the end of the frenzy. However, you're wrong. The puppets seem to just become depressed for the moment, seeming like they have no purpose left in this world. Yet they still feel emotion. They are still disobeying the Grand Covenant. They aren't bound by any rules, but they can feel, just like any human would. Perhaps the King of Puppets felt the same way. For the second half, you have to stop Simon Manus, an esteemed alchemist in the city of Krat, who used ergo to cleanse the petrification disease. But in doing so, he creates monsters. But he believes it's a cure. What he's doing is something of miracles, making a man become a god. His efforts even showed a way to make them immortal, testing his new methods on a deceased wrestler or boxer called Victor, a champion who entertained the public by fighting against puppets in the ring to show his dominance. However, the petrification disease took his life despite the efforts of everyone around him, but Simon Manus brought him back to life simply with the power of ergo. But now he's a monster. He can't live without the ergo fueling his body, and once again he falls of the hands of P, cutting the tubes which gives him energy to live. But Manus wasn't stopping there. He wanted to prove immortality with his newfound research of ergo, and he wanted it for himself. Taking the ergo to become immortal made him a monster. He knew it would, but he didn't care. Equipped with God's arm, he became what he truly sought out to be, a god himself, wanting to make a better world, a world of truth, a world without lies. The petrification disease is common in Krat, since the frenzy leaving the patient's blood blue in colour, as well as the body. At the same time, the person feels severe cold and in rare cases scabies. The patient's body gets covered in crystals and stone scales. It even told with the patient's mental state as well as the physical, leaving the patient mentally ill or in some cases insane. The residents of Krat have commonly referred to it to the stone disease, based off of a signpost in Elysian Boulevard, quote, "Beware of stone disease, closed for quarantine, no entrance for unauthorized people. Local residents are sick in soul and body. Don't talk to them." The disease spread like wildfire, killing off most of the Krat population. Anyone was desperate for a cure. They resulted in an alchemist called Clark Shaw, who made a cure out of a unicorn horn, blood of a two-headed snake, and boiled down mandrake. Obviously, this sounds skeptical, as they are fairy tale items, but then again, this could be true in the fictional world. The symptoms are clear in a note left by an unnamed resident, stating it itches, peel the skin and their blue blood, pretty cocoon, blue angel, joyful appetite, blue death. What a feast. Clearly, it shows that the resident has gone insane. Dr. Clark's medicine didn't help either, causing people to bury relatives without knowing who they were. They got so disfigured from the changes in their body that they became unrecognisable. Clark had to write a confession after the backlash of his cure, stating, "Why would the great alchemist records be wrong? I know I stole it, but I perfectly followed the manufacturing process. My cure was perfect. I dare not record what the ones who got treated turned into. That was literally hell. I'm dying, and this is my penitence. I also have the petrification disease, but I'm not getting the cure. I'd rather turn to stone and freeze to death." This shows the cure by the alchemists was wrong, and Simon Manus made it so his efforts of creating a new world would go ahead, labelling it as a cure for locals to take unknowingly. As you can tell, the story is only a small portion of what the game is about. Where the game truly thrives is character building and the story behind each of them. And I will be talking about the characters in separate videos, but hopefully this one served as a decent introduction to the story of Liza P. More videos will be coming shortly, but bear with me. Good night.